Hey, Earth.
Hi.
So,
How's everything been going?
hmm, kind of a loaded question.
Well, it is intentionally vague, so you can answer how you please.
Right. Um, Still trying to find a way to fix the solar situation. I think I have a potential idea, but it's difficult to work out the details too.
Okay.
Um, Keeping Sun in the loop has been going fine. Uh, I feel like we're talking more, but that might just be me.
Do you want to try and check in with Sun at some point and see how he's doing and if if he wants any changes?
I would if it wasn't for a recent event.
Oh? What happened?
So, recently was the 1 year since I got here.
Oh. I see.
Um, and I'd been thinking for a while that I wanted to talk with the old me.
Is that well, now that you're talking about it, is it possible?
It already happened.
Oh. That's a big thing to do. Sure you want to talk about it.
Yeah. I kept Sun in the loop about that. He was a little nervous, obviously.
Yeah, I could imagine.
It was surreal. He was a lot more sarcastic than I was, or am, which I find impressive with how sarcastic I am normally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he did have a message for you.
Oh?
Yeah, that was the weird thing is Monty said he wasn't consciously aware, basically, of everything that was going on, but when I went in there, he kind of, since he was semi-awake, he was kind of able to experience the things I had, or at least see them in some vague sense.
Mm-hmm.
So he had comments about stuff. Um, but he had a message for you and Lunar, respectively.
Okay.
As one for you was simply, he's sorry he never got to meet you.
Yeah, it was a pretty inconvenient time when I came around.
Yeah, you were one of the first people I met.
Yeah, it was a little unfortunate that I didn't get to meet the old him, but I'm really grateful I get to know you. Because what I've heard, not to rip on whatever happened in the past, it's just from what I've gathered around Sun, just in general conversations around you and him at the beginning, it didn't seem very good. I don't want to judge. I don't know everything. I recognize that.
No, that's fair.
So, I mean, I'd like to have met them to gauge my own opinion of them,
Right.
but I'm glad I know you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
but how are you feeling,
I don't know if I even got what I wanted out of it.
Well, what did you want out of that?
To understand him and his thought processes behind everything that he did. Why he did things the way he did, why he acted the way he did. If I was, or am, actively not better than him, but healthier. And I don't know if I am.
Well, what conclusions did you draw? Or did you draw any?
He loved all of you. So much. Even though he didn't meet you, he still cared about you. And Sun especially. He doesn't want Sun to even speak with him. It's possible, potentially, for Sun to do what I did and speak with the old me. But he doesn't want Sun to do that.
Has Sun mentioned wanting to do that?
He said maybe when I called him. He wasn't sure though. Obviously it's a big thing to take in.
Yeah, it is.
And especially for him.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I know I wouldn't be able to help with that. Any conversation that the two of them would have, I can't help with. But I do think it'd be beneficial for Sun.
I think it would be too, but
that is a big thing to do.
If I'm being honest, I think the old me is kind of scared of having that conversation.
The thing is that they're gone now.
He is. And he knows that.
There's nothing to be scared of anymore. There's nothing they can do other than have this one conversation to try and make it right. And it might not.
Well, from his perspective, there is something to be scared of. His being. He's not even properly dead, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a kind of state of perpetual comatose. He can't move. He can't talk. But I can only imagine that his mind is still mildly active. Even if it's just simply reliving everything or re-experiencing it in some odd way. Like a person rewatching a YouTube video. I think he's scared of if he has that conversation, that's all he'll re-see. And depending on how Sun reacts, I can kind of get where he's coming from.
Well, I obviously don't know everything about it.
Right.
I just always think if there is never gonna be a chance like this again, and, you know, even if you have this technology to talk to Old Moon, I don't think you're gonna do it often. I don't think there's a point for you to do it often.
I don't even know if I ever want to do it again.
Exactly. But if this is one thing that Sun can do to make himself feel better, I think we both should encourage it. Even if
Right.
Old Moon doesn't like it, because I feel like no matter what the outcome is, both are going to walk away with clarity. And even if he has to relive that over and over again, at least he can ponder it. I don't know, maybe that's cruel of me to say, but I think you're a good brother, Moon, for at least considering all these options here.
The things he said, I understood why. It's almost like something clicked in my head. Not to the same degree in which he did what he did, but I didn't sympathize necessarily, but I understood.
Yeah.
He only ever did what he did to try and protect everybody.
Even if it hurt the people he was trying to care about.
Yeah. Son especially.
Mm-hmm.
And he blames himself for everything that's happened to us.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily blame him for everything that's happened, but a lot of the stuff is a consequence to actions that were taken with maybe the best interests in mind.
He made Eclipse, who made Blood Moon. He made KC.
Yes, I remember all this. I was
I
told.
know.
But I get it. Yeah, a lot of bad stuff happened. And I bet he wishes he could take that back. And it's not fair we have to deal with it, but that's life. We gotta deal with things we don't really want to deal with.
I'm sure it was related to other things that he did, but he said he didn't regret anything he'd done. Obviously, I think aside from hurting us,
Mm-hmm.
he would do it all again. He told me that if it meant protecting all of you, then I should do what he did. But then he later apologized and said he doesn't expect me to give up my life. But he wants me to protect all of you, which I was going to do anyway, but hearing an older version of myself not directly say, but inadvertently say, die for your family.
Yeah, that kinda... Yeah,
It's a lot.
it is a lot. And, you don't have to do that.
I know. But I don't know if I wouldn't.
That's a fair thing. I don't think you need an older version of you to tell you how you would react to situations. If there was a situation where you would need to give your life for something, I mean, in a technical way, you already did with this whole Old Moon thing. Old Moon gave up their memories, their life.
Yeah, but that's him, not me.
That's him. Yeah. You don't have to do it. Technically, you already did it once. Even if you don't remember it. You're a different person. Which is fair to say, you can value your own life over others. That doesn't make you selfish. It just means you want to preserve your own life.
Well, it's not just preserving my own life. He understood Sun better than I do. And said things that I don't disagree with. I think Sun would do what he did if it came to the chance came. Not to escape what has happened, but I think Sun is more self-destructive than he wants to admit. And that scares me.
I personally don't think Sun is as destructive as people think he is. I think Sun is really strong. And
I know he's strong.
I think he's come to realize he can rely on us. And I think he started to do that more because he's a good person. He's a good brother. You're a good brother to care about him, to think he might have these tendencies and worry about him.
You know about the alcohol, right?
Yes. In fact, I'm not concerned over it.
Well,
I've had conversations with him about it, and the result of which I don't really think it's a problem.
I'm not necessarily concerned about the alcohol. I'm concerned about the concept behind it. We can't necessarily get drunk unless we become bioorganic or we build that concept into our bodies or whatever. So it's not like he was getting this is not about Sun, this is about me.
I know, but not to make it about him. I understand what you're worried about, and that's a huge thing about you. And if it makes you feel better, recently, he hasn't been doing that as much. He's actually switched to tea. If you see in the mornings, he drinks tea with me.
I've noticed. And that does help.
I think all this adventuring he's had to go through, all this stress he's had to go through with eclipse, with you being, like, the forgetting everything, it's just he hasn't had a break, and then he finally gets one. And I think he's starting to feel better. And I think we should, while also, you can still be worried about him. It's good to be supportive that, hey, if you want to break too, Moon, you can. If I want to break, I can.
I know.
And if you want to talk to Sun about it more, I'm happy to help with it.
Maybe a little bit down the line.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound dismissive over everything with Sun. It's just,
No,
I talk with him a lot, more than people realize I do.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah. But what else is on your mind?
The feeling of mediocrity, of inability. It almost got hammered home when I talked to the old moon.
Because you thought he was better than you?
No. Because I hardly had to even speak, and he knew what I was thinking.
Well, he is in your mind. Maybe that is an explanation?
Yeah. But he said something when I was getting ready to leave.
Oh?
He said that I've been holding myself back.
What does that mean?
That in fear of being like him, I'm not thinking potential options, or I'm not taking potentially needed risks, or etc. I'm subconsciously stopping myself from thinking too big in fear that it'll
Hurt people?
make me seem more like him.
Oh, so you don't want to seem like him. What does that mean? You don't...
He caused a lot of harm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the cause for people experiencing more.
Yeah, you don't want to do something that hurts somebody.
Not at all.
That's a fair thing. I relate. I do the same thing. I go out of my way to make sure I don't hurt people's feelings or hurt people. I won't encourage you to start looking at options that might result in you hurting people, but if you feel like you're holding yourself back, why don't you just allow yourself to explore those possibilities? You don't have to act on them, but I think it makes yourself better that you're not acting on those ideas. Because one of the whole things about Old Moon was that he hurt people, and you don't want to be that way.
Right.
And that's good that you haven't done that. So I wouldn't think too much on that because you've already achieved your goal. You're not like Old Moon. You're not hurting people. You're not hurting Sun. You're not destroying things to get your goal. You've made it. Just keep on this track.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I don't know. A part of me, I think, is worried that if I even start thinking like that,
You'll do it.
eventually.
The thing is, you listen to criticism. If you start going down that path, you have us. Lunar, Sun, me. We'll tell you, that's a bad idea.
I think another part of me is worried that if I start thinking like that right now, especially, I'm gonna do something dumb.
Yeah.
Old Moon had Monty to kind of hold him back. Even that didn't work. I'm not nearly as close with Monty as he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Solar to kind of keep me in check.
Yeah.
And now he's gone. I know the rest of you will stop me.
But you won't know if you'll listen?
I don't know if I could. It's one of those things that the more this hovers over me, not his legacy, but his history, it eats away at me more. The history he brought, it was the first things I experienced when I woke up. I had a day, maybe two, before Eclipse was bearing down my throat, blaming me for things I never did. And even when I explained that, he didn't care. I don't necessarily hate Eclipse, but I know to some extent people still look at me and see what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame him. I have the same face. And then I think about Casey. I hardly knew the guy. He wasn't even a part of my code. He completely re-altered his entire being. He was a kill code. Something designed to hurt people. And easier than the old moon or Eclipse or anybody. Realized he didn't want to do that and changed on a dime. And it's awe-inspiring to an extent, but it's terrifying to another. Because I can think about the opposite of that. Of somebody snapping and no longer being kind-hearted and wanting to help, but instead wanting to only bring about death and destruction. And all these dimensions, these entities that are from them that are wanting to do things. Hell, I don't even know where that molten wire Freddy is. I don't know what it wants, other than Eclipse and ruin. Well, ruin, not even Eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of me feels like I should be more mad at Ruin. Obviously, I'm upset for what he did, but I don't feel like I'm upset enough. I feel that way quite often, honestly. That I'm not being angry enough at times.
I remember from Sun when he told me everything that one, like a long time ago, about things, that the old moon would get angry quite a lot. So I think you're doing okay, not getting angry, and honestly, you don't have to get angry. I think you're upset enough. I think you're sad for what happened to Solar. I'm sad. I'm angry. I hate. I cry. And that's okay. It's okay to not hate or to cry. That's grief. It's okay not to get emotional.
Right.
Sometimes emotional doesn't happen for a long time. I'm sorry I didn't really answer everything else at the beginning. I don't really know a lot of things to help with that, but I do know more of the emotional
You're fine.
aspect. And if it feels better to get it out there, yeah.
Thank you, Earth.
Of course.
It does help.
I just want to support you. That's all I want to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more or less it.
Okay.
You wanna go get food?
Yeah, sure. You want to go get, I always say ice cream after therapy sessions, because it really is a nice sweet treat to help, with the big bad feelings, but, maybe we can get yogurt.
How does sushi sound?
Sushi sounds good, yes. And I want frozen yogurt
Still
afterwards.
pretty early.
Yeah. Frozen yogurt.
Frozen yogurt.